What's that, Steve?
Well, they're cautious approach shots.
Well, I don't think Jeff wants to give Wendell too many unforced errors.
Exactly.
And I think he feels comfortable that he can approach high percentage, not go for anything too big, and he's going to come out the better of it. Well, I take that back.
Well, that's the improvement in his game. That
right.
Two-handed backhand. He's hit 2 already in 4 games or so up the line, and they were solid hits. He, like you've said on the first one, he stepped up, stepped into the pocket,
right,
and hit it well down the line.
I think one of the things, Steve, one of the comments that we got with the Larry Turville matches we did about a month ago down at Mission Hills, the National 60 Hard Courts, was based on, geez, it doesn't look like they're hitting the ball that hard. And the feedback, at least for me, was more, well, maybe it's a little, you know, I don't know what the word is, illusion here, that you don't see a lot of pace. But there's really an emphasis, I think, in senior tennis much more on accuracy than sort of the grip and rip mentality of younger players. And it's funny to kind of get into discussions with players who really think that so much of tennis is about learning how to hit the ball harder, and that by learning how to hit the ball harder that you become a better player. And the reality is that the more you try to hit the ball harder, your consistency just goes down so much. So, you know, talk a little bit about your game, and because you're really very organized, very sharp. You know, I don't think people think of you as a power player as opposed to a real, you know, you're kind of a surgeon out there. I mean, you know, you're always laying the ball down in places in the court where your opponents don't like it. You know, talk a little bit about the difference between the value of power as opposed to being consistent.
Well, I think you've got to first realize what your game is and who you are. So I think I've realized that in my game, and feel like I don't want to make errors, but I do want to put pressure on my opponent. And this is a good point. Look at Wendell has to turn around. Yeah, it's a great point. I'll answer that in a minute, Brent. We've got a good point going on here.
You could probably go on for 2 or 3 different tips here during this point.
I sure don't want to be in this rally, I'll tell you that. Oh my God.
That's a tough shot.
That's Jeff. But I think the deal is you've got to realize who you are, what type of game you are, that you have. And I realized, you know, I wasn't a power player, so but I moved well, and that's an asset for me, or it did move well. And so I figured I needed to put pressure on by not making errors, but putting people in uncomfortable situations and get position. I think as we get older, there's an emphasis on getting position. And position, to me, is really key on the court. If you don't have position on a player, you know, he dictates the play.
Well, when you mean getting position, you mean putting yourself on a spot on the court where it forces your opponent to go for a bigger shot than maybe what they're comfortable with.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I want a player to feel like he's feeling me pushing him back.
Right.
You know, or that he doesn't want to hit this kind of a ball. Even if it's a short ball and he has to move up, he's uncomfortable. You know, the dump volley or the short approach. And, you know, I think you've shown, like, how to hit the drop shot and come in behind it. And that's a great play.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing you also mentioned there was that you got to figure out who you are on the court. And there's no question that whether you're an all-out serve and volley, chip and charge style that you and I play, or, you know, the opposite, which would be a baseliner, you have to recognize who you are. You got to embrace that, and I think you've got to practice those situations that you feel enhance your style of play. But I guess the point I'm trying to get to is that even if you're a baseline type of guy, there's more value, and Larry Turville showed us this, there's more value in being accurate than trying to put pressure on by overpowering.
Well, I think Larry's accuracy puts the pressure on the player.
Well, there's no question that he's consistently accurate, and that's a ton of pressure for the opponent. And that's definitely one way of playing. But your point, Stephen, is well taken, that you really need to figure out who you are, and if you don't know who you are, then you need to tinker and see what feels best to you. It's really tough to be, I think, a quote-unquote all-court player where you sort of have all these different styles available to you depending on who you're playing against.
I think you're right. I think when it comes down to crunch time, that's when you really have to know who you are. Because if you have too many options at crunch time, you're really not going to know what you should be doing. And when it comes, when you're in when you're at that time, you want to play where you think you should play or how you think you should play. And you should know how you should play. Oh my God.
That's a great point.
Wendell hasn't lost the wheels.
No, Wendell has not lost the wheels. It's interesting. It's just so amazing to me to see this guy who, one part of his game, he's a total beginner. He had to totally relearn how to play the game physically from the left side. But mentally, he knows so much about how to compete, where to hit the ball, what the strategies are, and then trying to execute it from the opposite side just blows my mind.
Well, do you see now that the strategy has changed a little? Wendell is putting the pressure on Jeff here.
That's right. Wendell's trying to come in a little bit.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, as you said, he knows the strategy. He didn't have to relearn that.
No, that's right. And folks, I apologize if the camera is moving around a little bit. Steve and I are up here on one of these commercial scissor lifts, and it's not the most stable piece of equipment I've ever stood on before.
Well, we're on an earthquake fault, Brent. I don't think we're feeling any earthquake, but
Steve,
it's shaking a little bit.
You don't need to jinx the fact that the San Andreas is not gone as it should have in the last 20, 25 years, but
Good.
It's really early setup by Wendell in that forehand. I mean, he doesn't do anything other than just really get prepared early, and he just waits for the right moment. I think a lot of players sometimes, they can get prepared early, but they rush the moment when they ought to be swinging, and they make contact too far in front. That is a great shot, and Wendell is on the board. Breaks Jeff Martinez.
Two good forehands. One cross court, one down the line.
That's amazing.
Just inside the line.
Just amazing.
415, 377.
Sorry guys, we're at 40:15. I was trying to call Mai to have her bring me the AC to my camera, and my phone wouldn't connect, and so I was using Steven's, and he was broadcasting her cell number. So we had to go off air for a second. Steven's a little bit
low tech,
technically challenged now and then.
Sorry, Maya. Your
Sorry, Mike,
numbers
you start getting thousands of phone calls from around the world. So Wendell just held. It's now 4-2 for Jeff in the first set.
That's a great point.
Well, that's
Super
not an
serve.
easy shot. I mean,
No.
It's not an easy shot by Jeff, and Wendell's really put a lot of pressure on him. He's got the ball down low. He's have to look back at the replay, but I think Wendell ends up almost inside the service line, if not on top of it. And Jeff calmly just sort of smooths the ball by him.
That was a great second serve. That was a deep serve, and Wendell just took it on the rise, came in like he would normally do right-handed. Or maybe he didn't do right-handed.
I'm not sure if you and I could do it right-handed.
That's a nice volley.
It's great. Great first volley.
Yeah, that's a nice second volley.
Great
That is
first
a
volley.
lot tougher.
Well, I think the thing with serve and volley that a lot of senior players who are trying to improve upon that style of play aren't yet comfortable with is that first volley doesn't have to be a winner. It just has to be where it, you know, worst case, it kind of neutralizes the returner. You know, not something such as a gift that they've got a pretty good passing shot, but it doesn't really have to be an all-out first volley winner. As long as you're consistent with it, you're putting a lot of pressure on that returner.
That's a great serve.
Yeah, Wendell goes out wide and plays the right-handed forehand.
Wow, are we seeing something here?
Maybe in 3 more years he'll be back as a righty.
So we could get beat as a right, left, and right?
He could win the first set right-handed, win the second set left-handed.
I'm glad we're not playing 3 out of 5.
I'm just glad both these guys are at least 5 years younger than we are, Stephen.
That's right. Just one break, isn't it, Brent? 5-2?
It's one break.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Because we don't use the backcourts for the last day.
No, that's right. Okay, we're back here. First set. Wendell Pierce serving. 2-5, down 1 break to the current 55 indoors champ, Jeff Martinez. That high backhand overhead by Wendell is probably the next thing that's going to have to develop the strength up there. I mean, you know how hard it is for us, even righty, to be able to hit that shot.
That's the toughest shot when you're up at the net.
Yeah, that high backhand, and you know you can't do much with it. So your thinking goes as you see it, well, should I go for it? And you know, you're probably going to butcher it. That's a great pickup. That's a great pickup. You know, or do you try to just shove it deep and hold good court position and see what you get?
I think that's it. I mean, shove it deep, hold good court position. But we see Wendell coming in.
That's right.
Jeff set that up with that high.
That's that high lob over the backhand
Yeah.
side, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if I consciously think about this when I'm when I'm playing, and maybe you do, Steve, but sometimes I almost don't want to lob a clean lob over the player to the backhand, because I think they might go ahead, be able to get back there and really kind of do something with it in terms of a lob back. It's almost better to sort of hit it to a spot where they need to take it.
Yeah, I think you're right, because you might be able to go back, let it bounce, and hit a ground stroke.
Hit a ground stroke or hit a tough lob coming back, and you kind of neutralize the guy. But if you lob over the backhand, and it's tricky because you don't want to leave it short, but at the same time, if it's really good, they can go back and get it.
There's that short ball.
Right.
That he's got to move up a
well,
little
when
quicker.
It's a short ball and he wants to get in, and he's trying to use the two-hander, and he's just not grip-wise. He's just not set up to be able to do what he used to do right-handed, which was to take it more with a continental grip and kind of slide it
with one hand.
With one hand and play it as an underspin slice approach.
Yeah. Well, give it 2 hours, and I think he'll get that shot.
So what time is it? Okay, that's right. It's still early.
Yeah.
This is set point for Jeff.
Well, he tried to play that ball over the backhand side.
Over the backhand side, that's right.
And he made it, tried to go too good, maybe for a winner, and didn't need to hit a winner. Well, there it was, Brent.
Yeah, I think Jeff's just happy to throw it up there and let Wendell try to work with it. And I think Jeff's pretty confident that Wendell's not going to do a lot with it. He's going to get it back in play maybe, but Jeff's probably thinking he's going to get a better passing shot opportunity off of that one than trying to pass from back here.
Yeah. What I've noticed in the last few rallies is Wendell seems to want to hit more backhands than forehands. He actually stepped around. If you look at the center service line, he was actually stepping around his forehand to take backhands.
That's a good point. Jeff's got another set point. There you have it, folks. First set to Jeff Martinez, 6-2, and I got to tell you, Stephen, I'm impressed with a 6-2. I think you and I'd be happy with the 6-2 against Jeff Martinez, playing 100% right-handed for ourselves.
Right. Well, we've been playing for 50 years, and to get a couple games playing Jeff, we'd feel pretty good. And Wendell's played 3 years.
That's right.